Emer Barry. Hello, Emer.
Hi, how are you? Hello, everyone. So my name is Emer Barry. Thanks a million for being here with us this morning. So I'm just going to go through a few quick housekeeping rules before we get started. So this event is being recorded and all attendees are muted and you have your cameras off. If you want to ask any questions, there is a Q&A bubble in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So please pop any questions you have in there and we will answer them at the end of this event. This recording and all the slides will be distributed after the event, and then we will put together an FAQ document, which you've done before, and circulate that to you all after the event. So just a quick run through the agenda. So Shane is going to do a live demo in a few minutes, and then I'm going to run through the different statuses on the grant system. Talk through a few of the recurring issues we've had with applications and talk about some training through the Energy Academy. And then Shane's going to talk about the demand generation, so how we're creating interest in EVs. And then Robert's going to talk shortly on the charging infrastructure, and then we'll go through the Q&A. So Shane, I'm going to pass over to you there.
Thanks very much, Emer. Welcome everyone. I'm just going to share my screen now. If you just give me one moment. Just while I'm doing that, to make you aware that there are how-to videos on our website and how to use the grant system as well. And as Emer mentioned, she'll take you through the Energy Academy module for the dealer training on the grant system. So now we have the screen in front of you there. You can see that when you log into our grant system, this is the home screen you're going to see. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through how to make a grant application. So you select grant application from the left-hand side menu, and then you're brought through to the first of 5 screens that you have to fill out. So your dealer and dealer ID is automatically populated. You have to select the name of your sales staff. So these are pre-populated by yourself through your account details, and they're the authorized sales staff who can make applications to the grant system. So you just select that. Then you have a question: has this vehicle been registered previously in Ireland or abroad? You have to select no. If you select yes, you will see there's a pop-up that prevents you from progressing, because we only grant aid unregistered new vehicles. So then you have your customer details, so your type of customer. So I'm going to run through the 3 of these here for you now at the moment. So if you select private, nothing changes and you still have these details to fill in: your customer, your contact name, home address, county, contact email, and daytime contact number. If you select commercial, you get 2 extra additional questions you have to populate here. So is the vehicle being purchased via hire purchase or a leasing arrangement? And you have a yes, no in the drop down. If it is being purchased through a hire purchase or leasing agreement, the VAT number is that of the leasing company you have to put in, not the end user. So it is the leasing company's VAT number you have to put in there. And again, the same details follow on underneath. For demo, this is your test drive vehicles for your dealership yourself. So it is the VAT number of your own dealership that you have to put in, and your customer details are those of your own dealership, just to be clear on that one. So I'm going to select private to progress this one, and we're going to go, you enter in your customer's name. You can put in a contact name if it's commercial customer only. If it is, you're after putting in, say, a company name, you can put in the contact name of the person you're dealing with. You can put in the address of your customer as well. I'm just going to select Longford. Then you select from your drop down the actual county as well. So then the contact email address and daytime contact number. So these 2 refer to your customer, Jim, which Jim are in this case. So I'm just going to put in an email and then a contact number also. So to progress now, I'm going to click next. As you can see, it saves the first screen and moves you on to the second screen, which is details regarding the charging. So how do you propose to charge the vehicle at your property? You can select ESP e-cars, or you can select other, where you get an open text box to fill in. So you need to ask your customer, are you the property owner or the tenant? So if they're the tenant, you have to have the permission of the property owner to install the charge points and to provide access to electricity consumption data. And it's the same for a resident. However, if you select owner, these questions are removed. Then you need to put in the MPRN number, which for your customers can be found their electricity bill. It's 11-digit number, and select the electricity supplier. So again, that screen's finished, so we're going to press next. Again, you can see it saves the second screen and moves you to the third screen, which is your new vehicle data, excuse me, details. So you need to select your manufacturer and your model. So I'm just going to select this one from the drop down. All the vehicles and the stack codes of the brand that you are dealing with for your electric vehicles will be populated in here, so you'll be able to select them. If it's not there, please contact your importer, as it may not have been submitted for approval to SCAI just yet. So your displaced vehicle details. What is a displaced vehicle? A displaced vehicle means is the customer replacing the current vehicle with the electric vehicle. So if you select yes, you then have a number of drop-down menus. You have to select your manufacturer. You have a model will populate when you select the manufacturer. So we'll just run through one here. We'll go Citroen, we'll go Berlingo, and your engine size, 1 to 2 liter, 2 liter to 6 liter, your fuel type, and then your estimated annual mileage. So then that is another screen complete. So you click next, and again, the system will save after screen 3 and bring you to screen 4. So this is the important one now. This is your pricing details. So your vehicle starting price. So this reflects your list price. It includes VAT and includes any VRT. It includes all delivery charges and other charges such as optional extras, but it excludes your grant amount. So this cannot exceed 60,000 euro. So I'm just going to put in 55,000. Is there a cash amount applicable? This does not include a trade-in value on a car, on a displaced car. So I'll say a 500 discount for a cash. You can see the blue fields here are actually already populated. So this is your SCI grant because it was a private application. It's 5,000 euro. And then you also have to enter your final price to the customer. So this must match what you put on your invoice that you're going to submit to us for your customer, what they actually have to finally pay. So I'm going to put in the cost to the customer is actually 40,000 at the end of it. And you can see that this one is auto-calculated, that there's other deductions, which could be VRT relief or whatever it may be, of 9,500. So I'm going to click next here. Again, the save is successful and you're brought to your final screen, which is your submit screen. So what you do here is you print your application form. This may take a moment to download for myself. And when you print your application form, you need to sign and date it yourself, and you also need your customer to sign and date it. And if it is a private grant application, which we are working on in this case, it needs to be a non-zero deposit amount. So it needs to be €1 or above at a minimum. So that is just downloading away there. And once it's downloaded, I'll open it up and we can run through how you might go about saving it. So once you have it signed and dated by the customer and yourself, you'll then scan it back onto your system and you would save it down whatever naming convention is most appropriate for yourself. So the naming convention, we find that it can be useful to include the application ID number in the name of the file that you're going to save, and to avoid any special characters such as an ampersand, as our system cannot read those if the file you're uploading has it in the name of it. So while that's done downloading, I'm going to go through the next step, which is attach the application form. So I'm just going to click attach the application form, and I'm going to click choose file. And then I need to find where it is. So we're going to go desktop. So we go in, find wherever you have saved the application form, and you're just going to put it in there, and then final upload, and then you click save. So now that it is saved, you have your application form is attached. You need to click submit, but you need to be careful here that by clicking submit grant application, you are confirming that both the customer and the dealer have signed and dated the attached application form. And as I mentioned, for a private vehicle, the deposit amount is a non-zero amount. And failure to do this may result in the loss of the grant. So then you can click submit grant application, or you can click the tick box here. I'm just going to click the ticks there, and you get your pop-ups in. Are you sure you want to submit? You can click OK to continue. And then you should get, excuse me, another pop-up once this gets going here. It's just taking a moment. It's always the way. And then you get a notification here that your application has been submitted. So I'm just going to click OK again here. And it should bring you back to your home page. And if you scroll down, you will see this, the most recent submission here. And you can see that it's actually shown as letter of offer accepted. So recently we have brought in an automatic grant offer. So once you click the submit grant application, you will receive within minutes your grant offer via email, and the status on the grant system will show as letter of offer accepted. So that completes the application submission demo. So now we're going to have a look at how do you submit your payment request, which is your transaction document and your invoice. So now I'm going to look at one that we have done previously, and to do so, I'm just going to click on grant application search, so I can search through all the applications that have been previously submitted. So I'll have my application ID number ready. I'm going to put it into the search bar there and let it search for it, and you can see it pops up here. It's letter of offer accepted, so it's ready to register the vehicle and to submit it. If I click the down arrow here, I get 3 options. I can view my application form, I can view my letter of offer, or I can register the vehicle. So I'm going to register the vehicle here. So you need to put in the vehicle registration. So I'm going to put in a made-up one for this one, and you need to select a vehicle handover date. So I'm just going to select today's date for that. You can see it pops up there once you've selected. So now the next step is to print your transaction documents. So again, that is going to download once you click print. And then it brings in the options to attach a transaction document and attach invoice and proof of payment. So again, when that file is downloaded, you need to print it. You need to get yourself and your customer to sign and date it and scan it back on so you can upload it to the system. As my downloads are taking a little bit of time, I'm just going to attach a previous document. So again, it's the same as when you're uploading the application form. You get the same box, you need to choose file. And I'm just going to throw in an application form just for this one, but make sure it's the correct document you're putting in for your transaction. So I'm going to click save. So you can see the transaction document has been attached, and now you need to attach your invoice or your proof of payment. So I'm going to select that once more, choose file, and then I have my invoice here already. So it's uploaded, and now I'm going to click save, and then I'm going to click OK. So that will mean that my transaction document and my invoice will be uploaded onto the system, and the system can now begin the automatic checks around the taxation and the registration number of the vehicle itself. So once this occurs, okay, it's always the way, there's always trouble when you're trying to do something live. So you see the status is now moved to registration pending. So what that means is the system itself is now going through the different checks that happens in the background, and it will check the registration, and it will check the stack code, and it will check the taxation dates, and you will get emails whether it goes to resubmit, whether it goes to tax fin and registration verified, or tax fin and registration verification failed. So what happens when it goes to resubmit? So I'm going to run through a resubmit for you now as well. So I'm going to click home to get back to my original page. I'm going to click grant application search once more. That will bring me in here, and I'm going to put in the application ID number of the one that is currently at resubmit. If it goes to resubmit, the approved email address will have received an email notification detailing which the application ID number, and that is moved to resubmit registration and why it has moved to that. So it'll advise you on how to fix the situation to move forward for payment. So again, I'm going to click the down arrow, and you see we now have more options here. So you can view application, you can view your letter of offer, but because you've all now uploaded a transaction document and invoice, you can now view those both. But because there's been an issue and we need to resubmit the registration, we're going to click register vehicle again. So as you can see, the previous registration number you entered is auto-populated along with the vehicle handover date. So if these are incorrect, you will need to change them here. And you will also then need to do the transaction document again. So I'm just going to click print transaction document. And again, that is going to automatically download that document as well. So you'll need to, again, name it in the correct convention, that naming convention that works and you've been using. Then you go to attach the new transaction document if there has been corrections made. You go to choose file again, select the transaction document from where you saved it, click save. And again, we need to do the same for the invoice as well. So if there's changes needed to the invoice, make the changes and upload the new file and make sure the correct naming convention is there. So click save, and I'm going to click OK here once more. Now that I've uploaded any corrected documents like the transaction document and the invoice, but make sure you upload both and you don't just upload one. Whether you've made a change or not, make sure you upload both. So we're just going to give that a second to do its thing. And as you can see, this one is now moved from resubmit registration into registration pending. So that means, again, the system is now rechecking all the details that you've provided by uploading those documents. So that is my demonstration finished, and I'm going to pass you back to Emer now.
Thanks, Shane. So I'm just going to run through a few things here. So the application status. So as you can see there, as Shane went through, the status of the application changes. So these are just the main ones that we have. So the first one is application in progress by the dealer. So that means you as a dealer, you've started an application, but you haven't hit that submit button. So you could have gone 3 screens in and stopped. So you can always go back to it. You can actually cancel that at any point. So as you go over to the right-hand side where it says view application, you have the option to edit or delete it. If you no longer need that application before you submit it, you can delete it. As Shane said then, the application is approved automatically. So it goes straight to letter of offer accepted. So that means you can apply for the grant, get approval and register the vehicle on the same day. So it just shortens the process for yourselves and your customer. So please ensure that you have the letter of offer on the application or that you've received the emails. And if you haven't, if you've submitted it and you've no letter of offer, please do give us a call and we'll check what's wrong. When it goes to registration pending, as Shane showed there, you've uploaded the transaction invoice and it's the system is checking it. That takes up to 10 days. The system will check it. And then if the details are correct of your tax and your registration, the system has performed the first checks and the dates are correct and it's inside the grant offer window, it'll go to verified. And then the next one from that is registration approved. And at registration approved, SCAI have reviewed it, have checked all the documentation and it's correct and have moved it on to the payment cycle. When it gets to awaiting payment, then we're doing our very final checks, spot checks on some of the applications, and then it moves to paid. We've issued the instruction for payment, and then you'll get a remittance advice to say that it's been paid. So that's the statuses. If there's no issues and everything runs smoothly, that's the process and the numbers you will see. Now, if there is an issue or with an application, you may get the resubmit registration, as Shane showed you there. So that means that for some reason, either the car may not be taxed or it's registered incorrectly. There's something wrong that means we cannot move it along. So you will get an email telling you why. So please ensure you check the emails you get. When it gets to tax VIN and registration verification failed, it means that we can't pay it for the moment, and you will get an email telling you why, and you will need to take action on that to fix the issue. And then finally, when it's grant cancelled by SCAI, it means that either the grant has passed its expiry date and you haven't submitted any documentation such as a transaction document or an invoice, and it will automatically cancel at the date of expiry, or that you as a dealer have asked SCAI to cancel that grant for you. If at any point you're not sure what to do, please stop and contact SCAI and we'll be able to help you. So there have been some recurring issues as to why grants either fail or are rejected, sent back, etc. So these are just kind of the main ones that we've come across in the last while. So the first of all, we used to check the application form when it was submitted and manually approve your application. Now that's done automatically. So at the end of the process, so when you've submitted your transaction document and your invoice, it's at that point that we then check the application form, the transaction document and the invoice. So if the application form is not signed by the dealer and the customer, then it will be rejected. There may be a page missing from the application form, so the first page might be there, the second page isn't there with the signatures. Again, we'll be looking for that. The vehicle cost, as Shane showed you, needs to match the invoice. So, so the starting price should be what you're starting with, and you need to show the SCAI grant as well and the deduction you've given the customer for that grant. So they need to be clear on the invoice. If there's no deposit amount on a private grant, so as mentioned, you need to have a non-zero amount on a private grant. That needs to be stated. The VAT amount might not be shown in the invoice, or the VAT number might not be on the invoice. They are required on the invoice. sometimes the incorrect document may be attached. If you do a lot of applications, you may attach the wrong person's documentation to the wrong application. So please just, the naming convention does help, and the application IDs are the unique identifier. So please try and use them. Might make it easier for yourselves to do it, whatever way it works for you. The stack code applied for may be different to the stack code registered. So please ensure that you're applying for the stack code that you're actually going to give the customer. Otherwise, it can cause an error. Sometimes the documents aren't clear to see, so they mightn't be scanned clearly, or it's a blurry picture. So please ensure they're clear, that otherwise, again, we will send it back. And then the biggest issue would be that the vehicle was registered prior to the grant offer being given, or that it's taxed after the grant offer expires. And in this case, you will receive a penalty. So please ensure that you have the grant offer in place, and that you then register it. And with the automatic approval, that should remove that issue. If you find that your car is delayed, and we understand there are delays of vehicles at the moment, you can cancel the application and submit a new one when you're nearer the date of the car arriving, to ensure that it's not tax late. So just keep that in mind as you go along with your applications. And then maybe the vehicle has been registered incorrectly. So if it's a demo vehicle, it's not registered as garage, it's registered as company. Or if it's a private vehicle that's registered as company, again, the system will reject it. So I suppose please ensure your staff are aware of these issues, and it might be worth having that your staff know how the system works, how the application should go through, and the rules around the scheme. And maybe have a couple of staff who know how to actually submit applications, so you're not stuck just with one person having to do it. The email notifications all go to one email address that's registered on our system for yourselves. It's on your account, so you can see on your own file what your email address is, and that should be a regularly monitored inbox. So please read the notification you get. It'll tell you what the issue is. This is also the email we use when we send you the remittance to say it's been paid. So if at any point you need to update this email, please let us know, and we can do it. So if you email us at evgrantscheme@scai.ie, we can change it for you. That's no problem, so that it's always an active email account. So just quickly now on some additional training for your staff, and this might be useful for all staff just to sit through. It's only about 25 minutes long. It's our online SCAI Energy Academy module for EV dealers specifically. So if you go on to the website for this, please register as an EV dealer, and you will automatically be assigned the EV dealer training. Now this is, it goes through our how-to videos. So we've created short how-to videos, which is a step-by-step process of what Shane showed you today, but in a little bit more depth. Of how to use the grant system and the rules around it, and it would be worth your staff having a look at it. As I say, 25 minutes, you get a small certificate at the end of it, and it's a nice piece of training that we've provided for your staff, so it'd be worth having a look at that. So I'm going to pass you back over to Shane now on the demand generation activities.
Thanks very much, Emer. So just give you a quick run through of some of SCAI's activities in the demand generation space. So as you're probably all aware, we have put up an SCAI comparison calculator on our website. That's free to use, and you can include this in any of your sales processes because it's free to use to the public, to yourselves, to everyone who has access to the internet. So as you can see here, you can toggle by grant eligible cars, and you get little cards there of the eligible vehicles, and you can click select, which will add them to kind of a pop-up banner in the end, and where you can compare, excuse me, up to 3 electric vehicles with a default ICE vehicle as well. So it's very helpful, and it compares the total cost of ownership and the annual energy costs of the vehicles. So as you can see here, when you then click compare, you're brought to the results page, which gives you your annual energy costs. So you have your ICE vehicle, your 3 electric vehicles, and it shows you the 10-year total cost of ownership as well, which includes price as well. So you can see so underneath that, then we have our car details page. It's more of a detailed comparison after the graphs, which shows you your fuel type, it shows you total cost of ownership, your price, your annual energy costs, your electric range, your tailpipe emissions, and you can hover over the little question marks there to get a more in-depth meaning of what each of these headings refers to. For the electric vehicles, then you can click find a dealer, which will bring you to our dealer map on our website, or you can go and look further into each of the cars by clicking view car details. just some notes and assumptions that our calculator is based on is that you can see them there in front of you. Some of the ones that they're the most recent fuel prices we've put up there. We've actually updated them since as well to be more reflective of what's happening nowadays. We have an annual mileage of 18,000 kilometers and a 10-year vehicle lifespan, but you can view them on our calculator pages as well, no problem. But just actually to note as well, as well as our total cost of ownership tool, we also have a journey cost calculator where you can go in and your customers can then select their individual personalized journeys, whether it's dropping the kids to school, their commute to work, the once a week trip to the grocery shop, or whatever you can do daily, weekly, monthly. You can do return journeys, and it will give a very personalized results to your customers, which we have found through our studies actually greatly enhances the likelihood of a purchase for the customer as well, just to be able to see the actual estimated savings for their own personal experiences. So as you may have seen recently, we completed a Baseine mystery shopper activity back in 2021, and at our recent energy show, we published the report and find it. So our aim was to find out what the EV shopping experience was for the public, and so we randomly selected 179 dealerships across the country where we mystery shopped them. And we made sure the shoppers had a profile that they were going in, a customer scenario they were going in that would make an EV an extremely suitable vehicle for them. So you can find this report on our website, and just some high level results that came from it is that in 63% of the dealerships that were visited, EV visibility was quite good, that there was a good score for understanding the customer needs. The EV knowledge was 71% had extremely good EV knowledge, which is great to see. Their sales approach was at 66%, and the overall customer experience was 62%. So essentially what that's shown us that it's quite good starting points, but there is improvements that can be made, and we're here to help as best we can on that. So there's some more details as well, some more of the results that we found from it. So 66% of the undercover shoppers rated their salesperson as knowledgeable about EVs. 75% of the salespeople ultimately recommended an EV as a customer's best option, which is great to see. What could help improve this experience is providing potentially additional training for your staff members, such as what Emer mentioned there, our Energy Academy module, attending our webinars, any in-house training or national brand training that you may have. And as I went through the EV comparator tool, perhaps integrating that into your sales process would be useful. Excuse me. So just going on, as a number of you are probably aware, we recently launched and went through our inaugural EV Dealership of the Year 2022, where we presented the national winners at our energy show, but also we had a county winner as well in almost all of the counties. So 116 dealerships took part, and the assessment of each of the dealerships was based on sales, a review of their website, their training that is provided, and then we done a mystery shopping activity as well. This mystery shopping was separate to our baseline mystery shopper report as well. So we had 23 county winners. There was one county we did not have any participation from, and 2 counties where the minimum score criteria was not met. So we one national winner from those 23 county winners, made the shortlist for the national winner. So we one winner from that, and that was Fitzpatrick's Garage in Kildare, and just a big congratulations to them there. We are hopefully going to run this for a number of years moving forward, so we would appreciate if you'd all register and take part in it when we release it for 2023. So I'm going to pass you over to my colleague Robert now to talk to you about the charging infrastructure.
Thanks, Shane. So for the next couple of minutes, I'll just present an overview of the charging infrastructure grants that we have available and some of the developments from SEI in this space that would be good to pass on to your customers. So at a broad level, we think of charging in 4 categories: home and domestic charging, where we expect 80% of the charging to happen. Destination charging, hotels, gyms, and tourist destinations where you might be there for a couple of hours. On-street charging, again, the likes of ESP cars have a big network across the country on this, but other players are entering the market as well. So we'll see more of these happening in the next few months and years. as well as fast and rapid charging, which I've put a full slide for on the next page. So the fast charging infrastructure is developing fast. It's mostly driven by the private sector, but there's also a lot of ESB e-cars driven initiatives that were supported by the government of Ireland. But at a high level, you have the Tesla charging stations, you have the Ionity ones, and the ESB e-cars ones, which can go up to 150 kilowatts. So between these charging locations, there's the different variations of how people can charge. So it's good and important to maybe talk to people when they come to the dealers to ask for advice, to know briefly how to manage it. Obviously, it can get quite technical in terms of the different types of chargers available and the charging rates at home and in other places, but at a high level, this is how we think of the charging available. In terms of the SEI grants that we offer, we have the home charger program, which is our bread and butter, where we give 600 euros per home. This must have, the people applying must have access to off-street parking available. So it primarily includes single dwelling housing. In parallel, we're working to launch the apartment charging program, where we're looking to fund 50 to 80% of all the infrastructure costs. It's expected to be launched soon in Q2. We've had some delays with this. We were hoping to launch earlier this year, so we're sorry for that, but we're doing our best to launch it when we can. In addition to that, we have the public charger program, where we give grants to local authorities to install on-street residential charging. So the key point here being that the local authorities can facilitate this as long as the parking location where the vehicle is parked is used for overnight charging. So it cannot be, for example, the car park from a community center or the car park from a train station. They're not covered under this version of the public charging program, but they're looking to expand it. So if people come and say, look, I don't have off-street parking, I park my car on street, what do I do? The advice is get in touch with your local authority. We have this grant available, and it's the local authorities coming to us to then apply for grants. Finally, the destination charging program is in progress, and we understand it's being developed by the Department of Transport and hopefully to be launched soon. And this will cover the remaining bits, which, as I've mentioned before, maybe park and ride facilities, maybe gyms, libraries, and tourist destinations, which happen to some extent on their own, but I think some grants towards that will help provide even more infrastructure. So that's broadly speaking the grants that we have, and just some specific information on the home charger application process. So process, as you might know, is fully online and must be completed by the applicant only. Applications where dealerships applied on behalf of customers will be rejected. We've had some issues on this in the past with dealers applying on behalf of homeowners. There's a lot of personal data involved, so even from a GDPR perspective, it's not exactly correct to have that process, but obviously assisting the homeowner to fill their form is a different thing, but filling it on their behalf is something we don't encourage, so we won't be accepting that. The full process is now online, so no more paperwork required. So until now, the first part of the webinar was online. The first part of the application process was online, and the paperwork following thereafter was offline. So you had to physically mail it in. Now everything is online, with the electrician having to complete his part of the application form separate to the homeowner. So there's two different links that the homeowner gets once they applied. So that is improving the time we can take to process these applications. There's still going to be some people that have applied on the old system, which we're working through, but everything is fully online now. We're back for applications that are to being valid for 6 months only. We've had an exception rule built in because of the delays with the vehicles. We appreciate there might still be delays, but as opposed to doing what we did we was shifted everyone forward with their application deadline. We're back to the 6 months timeline now, and if that is not being met, there is a process we can follow through for appeals if needed. So a recommendation here would be to encourage the homeowner to only apply when there's a bit of certainty as to when the vehicle might arrive. We're not likely to run out of funds on the program anytime soon, so there's no pressure on this one. So I think that's maybe the best way to manage. Um, we also have smart chargers being introduced from September. So we know that the majority of people are installing smart chargers, but a small minority are probably installing cheap products that are not good for our national grid and for energy demand. So from September onwards, we will only be facilitating smart chargers installations, and there's going to be separate communications on that happening. We have a webinar that we are hosting on the 18th of May this month to tell manufacturers and suppliers how to add their products to the system. And they will have a 4 or 5 month window on how to do it. If you think any of your partners are interested in, or even, as I understand, some of the manufacturers themselves provide chargers, they will have to go on to that register as well. So if you're interested to attend this webinar and see how you can add your products, let us know. And yeah, if you have any further queries or feedback on this, this is our email address where we can discuss anything EV infrastructure related things. So thanks for that. And then I'll move on to the next slide, I think, which is the Q&A. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much, Robert. If anyone has any questions, please stick them into the Q&A section and we can go through them now shortly. I don't know if you want to kick off there. There was one or two questions. I know Shane's answered them as they went, but it might be worth just talking through one or two of them as we go along.
One of the questions there was how long does it take to receive payment when all documents have been sent correctly?
Yeah, I answered that already in the Q&A, but we can run through it again. So every week on our grant program, we action what we call a payment batch. So it's a payment run essentially. So if you have all your documents in and they've gone through the automatic checks on the system, they've all been correct, they'll let the status of your grant application will have moved to tax VIN registration verified. So when it's at this, SEI will review it and push it forward for review for a payment. So when that happens, it will change to registration approved, which means it's currently in the next payment batch run. So once we review the payment batch run, we will then action that and it'll switch to awaiting payment. So at this stage, the instruction to do the payment has been sent. So our payment software will then action the fund transfer and the status will update to paid, and to the registered email address you will receive a remittance notification whereby that says that the fund transfer has been actioned. And depending on which bank you're with and which bank we're with, it may take 2 to 5 days from that point at it, but it's usually on a weekly basis.
Yeah, so we have a further question there. Is there a template for an invoice available?
Yeah, I just put a link in there. So on the website, on the EV section of the grant section of the website, in the dealer page of it, down the bottom there's some document downloads which has the sample invoice in there, as well as a few other important documents that are there, but the sample invoice is there, so you can download that and use it.
And we have a further question there. So I have an application at letter of offer stage. I don't think the customer will have their car by the deadline. Can I delete this and resubmit, or what's the best thing to do?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you don't think they're going to have it, just, yeah, you can cancel it with ourselves. You can send in an email to our EV grant scheme at scai.ie. We can cancel it. And then when you know it's coming, the car is on its way, you can then reapply. There's no issue with that.
So we have a further question here. I think some of it was cut off though. Can I contact them to get the details?
I think that's two questions for two people. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that query was.
Yeah, but if you're looking to contact us, you can contact us on evgrantscheme@scai.ie or any of the email addresses that were put up in the Q&A slide, which will be shared afterwards as well.
What happens when a grant application is in the failed status? If you have sent in info required, how long does it take to resolve?
Yeah, so I suppose if you've sent the details and it depends what the issue is. If it's a case that the stack code hasn't been registered with SCAI, that it's a newer one, especially this happens quite a bit as we move into this next selling phase and there's new stack codes for similar type cars. If we need to get, you'd need to get the importer then to submit the stack code. So it might take a few days to do that. And then we need to just manually review it. So it could take a week, maybe two, just depending how long it takes to get the details in of what the issue is. We do try to move these on as quickly as we can, but again, we can't get large volumes depending what's happening. So yeah, just it depends. We try to get them resolved within a week, 2 weeks max, depending what the issue is.
Yeah, so then we have another question here just in relation to the comparison calculator. So if, for example, Citroen or whatever brand you choose to compare on the comparison calculator, do the SCAI contact the brand to update their details if they're not available?
Yeah, so I presume that's when there isn't that available or it's incorrect details. So our calculator is powered by JATO and their vehicle database. So it's your importer who deals directly with JATO. So if there is any data issues or data omissions on our calculator, it's coming directly from the database with JATO. So you need to contact your importer to update these details.
This is a question for Robert. When will a list of authorized smart chargers be available?
So the list will come into effect from September, but as the chargers are being added to the list, they'll be made available on the EEE website, which we can provide details for. So you can keep an eye on that, or just go to the website in September. What we'll do is in the home charger application process, you'll have the option to select from the drop-down list the manufacturer of chargers and the product. So that will be there at the selection level. Yeah. Thanks.
Is the copy of this presentation available to show to our sales team? So will these slides be circulated?
Yeah, so this has been recorded, so we will be able to, this will be up on our website, we'll circulate it as well, that's no problem. There was one question there, I think, Owen, for Robert. I think it's to do with the delivery. Some customers have ordered for July deliveries and have already purchased. I presume that means purchased their home charger. I presume if they've already applied at this stage, Robert, there's no issue with, it will not require a smart charger. There'll be some kind of, so if they apply, say, in August and don't get a smart charger, they'll still get a grant for the non-smart charger. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So it's only for new applications from September onwards where this will be enforced. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
So there's a question there, I don't know if you see it, Owen. To meet the criteria, the battery warranty information certifying authority information found on the vehicle. Not sure what that means.
Yeah,
Is
I'm
that
not quite sure what that means, but when we look for battery warranty, it's with our relationship with the importer, because the importer is registering a new vehicle or an existing stack code to an existing vehicle or new stack code to an existing vehicle. So it is the importer who's providing the battery warranty information to us.
And we have a question there. If a customer's ESB power bill is in their partner's name, will this be accepted?
Yes, I imagine that refers to the home charger scheme. Yes, we have a process in place where if the vehicle belongs to one person, but the bill is in another person's name, there's, I believe, some additional info we might ask, but that is okay as long as the address that the vehicle is registered at is the same address of the bill. So it should be okay to go through. Yeah.
And it's the same, I think, for the vehicle grant. Sometimes it's someone that lives in the house that's buying the car, but someone else's name is on the bill. So again, that name could just be put on the file. It's not a problem. I think that's all the questions there. What's one more now? How can I
Who
check
can
de
I
minimis
check
funding?
minimus funding? Is that internal with the dealer?
Yeah, so I'll take that one. We actually, excuse me, have a de minimis calculator inbuilt into our grant system. So the de minimis funding means you can receive up to €200,000 in a 3-year rolling period. So once we have, excuse me, we have a built-in system so that you will get a warning highlighting when you are within 5 grants from hitting your de minimis ceiling, and that will count down from 5. When you're 4 away, you'll still get a message telling you, yes, you've 4 left, you can make 3 left, 2 left, 1 left, and then when you hit your ceiling, you'll be prevented from making any more grant applications under that VAT number until it moves into the next calendar year, which would be the next 3-year rolling period, and you might have some wiggle room there where some grants from 3 years ago may have fallen out to allow room for the next year coming. So you will see through the pop-ups on the grant system when you're within 5 to down to when you hit the ceiling.
And just to add, Shane, just to bear in mind, if you do find you're coming near that ceiling and you find you have applications that are sitting at letter offer accepted that are for demos that you're not actually going to fulfill, you can cancel those. So just ask us to cancel them, and that will bring those numbers back into your de minimis calculator.
So we have another question for Robert there. Will the grant for the smart chargers be the same come September?
Yes, there's no plans to change the amount. That is still €600 for the charger and the installation costs. We know that the average installation cost is about 1,200 at the moment, which covers almost 50% of the costs. But as the market develops, the competition will bring prices down. So we have no, I guess, reasons to believe we need to increase it at the moment. So it will stay the same. Yes.
And then a further question here. So VRT rate max of 5,000, will any EVs go over it?
Yeah, I can take that. With the recent changes, I presume they're talking about the VRT rebate rather than the VRT rate. So with the recent changes to the VRT rebate, I don't believe the way it's actually structured between 40 to 50,000 OMSP that any EV out there on the market can actually achieve a full VRT rebate of 5,000. So no, we won't go over it.
And the further question here, if a client swaps or changes electricity supplier, does that cause an issue? I'm assuming that's due to
No,
charging
because
then,
it's
Robert.
yeah. Well, I suppose for both, it's the MPRN number we work off. So the MPRN number never changes. The supplier of the electricity might, but I think for definitely on the vehicle side, we look at the MPRN number, and I assume on the other side, on the charger side, Robert, you look at the MPRN number.
Yeah,
And
it's the same for us as well, and I think that answers Owen's questions as well about the MPRN being in husband's name. As long as there's a way to demonstrate that both people live at the same address, that's okay. Yeah.
could a future budget reduce or remove the grant amounts?
Yeah, I'll take that. As we've seen there at the start of this year, the plug-in hybrid grant was removed. It was reduced last year. So the whole essence of a grant to be put in place is to stimulate a market until it is self-sustaining, and then to reduce with a view to remove it. So it is not going to be around forever. There is a likelihood that it will be removed. Do we have any foresight of when that will happen? Unfortunately not. I believe it's the latest from the Department of Transport was in the budget was to say that it will remain in place until minimum end of 2023.
There's another question here. If customers on the disabled driver scheme, can they also get this grant?
Yes, they can indeed, as long as if it's a passenger vehicle, it's privately registered, they can get a grant for it. I think there's another question there from Christine about where do you find out how many applications you've left? I'm going to presume that was in reference back to the de minimis. So as I said, you will have to wait until you will get the warning notification that you're 5 grants away from hitting your de minimis ceiling, and it will give you an update each time you submit a new grant application. But as Emer mentioned, if you have existing live grant applications that you're not going to use under your VAT number, please do cancel them, as that will remove it out from the calculation for the de minimis that's inbuilt into the system.
Yeah, you could actually do a short filter. So if you go into search applications, if you search by customer and put in your dealership name as the customer, it should just bring you up all those ones, and it'll give you should give you a number at the bottom to tell you how many there are. So you could, that's probably the kind of a rough and ready way to do it, just to search by customer as your own dealership, and you'll be able to see them and the dates there as well to give you an idea.
So if a new car is registered before the grant is approved, is there leeway to submit it afterwards?
I'll take that one as well. If a vehicle is registered before a grant offer is received, it is in breach of the terms and conditions that every dealership who's partaken in the grant scheme has agreed to uphold. So you could submit it afterwards, but you will not be receiving a full grant amount whatsoever. And if it is a repeated offence by a dealership, we would have to look at taking further disciplinary action as well.
So the grant for the FEV was 5,000, but reduced that last budget to 2,500. So which applies now?
So yeah, I suppose there's no grant now for the FEV. That was removed at the end of last year. So you can only apply for a grant for a fully electric vehicle now, which is €5,000 for a privately owned one. So there is no grant anymore for a plug-in hybrid.
Is there any stipulation on how quickly a client can change their car? Say like the VRT exemption scheme has a 2-year turnaround.
No, I think this is referred to if a client buys a vehicle and then buys another one, will they get a grant? Our grant is vehicle based, so it is the vehicle that gets the grant and not the customer. So if your customer wants to go and buy 3 or 4 EVs, they will get a grant for each one. If they then sell on one of those EVs, that vehicle will not get a grant because it's going to be a second hand, and we're not going to double subsidize a vehicle. Don't think there's any more questions coming in there, so we're getting close to the timing up of it, so we might call it to a close. And just like to thank everybody for tuning in today, and just remind everyone that we will be sending out the slides, the recording, and we will compile all the questions into an FAQ, and we will send that out as well. But it will probably likely be a week or so before we pull all that together. And we have our attendee list, which we will circulate this on, and we'll also post it on our website as well. So if you need to go back to it to check anything out, feel free to go and visit our website. We also have our how-to videos on there, and please go and do the Energy Academy module for the dealer training as well. It's very beneficial, and you will receive a nice certificate at the end of it. So I just want to say thank you again to everyone, and thanks to my fellow panelists, and just say goodbye on that one.
Thanks, Shane.
Thank you.